Do you ever feel invisible or maybe just a bit frustrated because you've worked so hard to create a great compliance program and only maybe 5 people know about it? You've done training, communication campaigns, but it just seems like there's no engagement. How do you change the game? How do you get them engaged? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 6 creative ways to grab your employees' attention and keep it. Most of the tips that I'm going to share today have one thing in common. We're asking your employees to play. And play doesn't mean that we're not working or learning, but play, when used strategically, means that we're able to build a good skill set to help us to be able to identify risk, mitigate it, and apply those policies and procedures to our day-to-day roles. In my previous video, I talked about the difference between training and facilitation, with training being a one-way dissemination of information to help provide guidance to your employees about policies and procedures, whereas facilitation is the practical application of that guidance. So for these tips, we're going to look at how do you help your employees apply your policies and procedures. Tip number 1, buzzers. People love to compete and they love to press a button. With buzzers, you can have games, maybe like a Family Feud style, divide your employees into different groups and ask a series of questions. And this could be rapid fire questions on your policies to see if they really understand what you've just trained on. It's a great way to get them involved, to get them to compete against each other, but also to reinforce the training that you just did. Tip number 2 is gaming. As I said previously, people love to compete, and what better way to do that than game? And that can be either board games or online games. There are 2 companies that I've recently come across this year that are doing amazing work with creative engagement in the compliance space. The first is Hollister Inc. Susan Roberts and Nadège Rocher have come up with a couple of really great ideas that they're using with their employees. The first is their take on Mission Impossible. They've created custom videos with certain scenarios asking the staff for help. I love the one they did where the compliance staff all suffer from amnesia and need help in figuring out how to handle an issue. The second is where they created their own version of Monopoly. They use this at their sales conferences and ask sales staff to answer questions in order to increase their market share. Answer wrong and you could be sent to jail. What's great about this is that they created all of these innovative activities in-house, so it really brings your costs down. Another company that's doing some very creative gaming is LexisNexis. Tania Pavaskar was telling me about in-house software that was created to where sales and marketing employees are broken into teams and compete against each other using this interactive software. They have to answer questions based upon different scenarios in order to increase their market share. If they answer those questions wrong, they lose points and therefore lose market share. It's a great way to reinforce learning and also to understand where you went wrong and why you're not being as profitable as you would think that you should be. Tip number 3, Lego Serious Play. Y'all know I love me some Legos. The great thing about using the Lego Serious Play methodology is that it allows your staff to use both their hands and their minds in order to express what they're thinking. Using Legos, they're able to build a 3D model of an issue or challenge that they're dealing with. When you're using the Lego Serious Play methodology, ask questions about either the topic that you've trained on, or if you want to do a risk assessment gap analysis, you can look at your policies in action. Tip number 4, diagnostic cards. You can use diagnostic cards either one-on-one or in a group setting. They can be paired with Lego Serious Play and having the participants choose a card that best represents the model that they just built. You can also use them one-on-one to help issue spot and drive awareness. You can have them use it individually by creating post-it notes of always, sometimes, never, and having them go through the diagnostic cards and put the cards into the different categories of, are these issues coming up all the time, sometimes, or never? And then after that, you can deep dive into what issues are always coming up, why are they coming up, And how do you mitigate and address those? Diagnostic cards are great to serve as a prompt to help really get employees thinking about some of the issues that could be happening around the workplace. Tip number 5, story cubes. Story cubes are great because it forces your employees to tell a story in a positive way about a certain issue, process, or challenge that they're going through. In this, you roll the cubes, they're like dice, and then you have to tell a story based upon the picture that's on the dice. This means that it's forcing people out of their comfort zone because they're really having to do that callback to your policies and procedures, how it relates to something that they're going through, and then being able to build upon it. Because what you're doing is, instead of thinking about all the things that can't work, this is saying, this is how I can make this process work, or here's the challenge that I'm having, and here's how I'm going to solve it. Tip number 6, remote polling. This activity has been around for quite a while. There are remote polling devices. You can also use your smartphone and vote from there. There's different software to use for that. But it's a great way to get real-time feedback during a training or facilitated session. You can ask questions as to yes or no. Are you feeling comfortable with this information? Multiple choice questions to scenarios. It really helps to drive your understanding on their engagement and whether or not you need to reinforce certain areas of the training because they're getting answers wrong or they're saying, I don't understand. These 6 tips can help take your program to the next level by providing practical opportunities for you and your staff to work through complex and sensitive issues in a safe environment. Because the tips are so interactive, it allows you to do a high-level risk assessment because what you and your employees don't know could sink your business. What creative activities will you use to help your workforce understand your policies and procedures? Thanks for watching, and I hope that you found this information to be helpful. Please join me next week for part 3, using videos and visuals to help create ongoing engagement. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive alerts when new videos are posted. If there's a particular topic that you'd like me to cover, please comment below.